What's going on? It's Matt. We're back with another episode of MPTV, and this time I got one of the crew, one of my ride or dies, my OGs, Mr. David Schlotter, the marketing director of America's Best Restaurants. Welcome to the studio.
What's going on? Second appearance?
Second appearance?
Yep.
I'm living the dream, man.
Nice.
You make my life easy.
I tried to.
So this is your second appearance. The first time we talked about content for restaurants and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the value of it.
That is your expertise. That's your value, even though you're younger on the staff. What are you, 22 now?
22, yep.
And I met you when you were 18.
Met when I was 18 and started working for you when I was 19.
You had just become 18. I remember looking at the audio of my event, and you had just graduated high school.
Yep.
And like 2 months later, you drive to – did you guys drive or fly?
I flew.
You flew. You and your cousin.
But I drained my bank account doing it.
You drained your bank account, flew to Cincinnati.
Yep.
Union Hall, we had the restaurant marketing 2 or 3 days. Was it 2-day summit?
And I was sick for the second day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember looking out the first day, and I'm like, who is this 12-year-old? Like, where's his bike? And it was you.
It was me and my cousin. We came out,
And then
my mom didn't want me to come alone.
Okay.
I had to come with someone. I had a chaperone. Yeah.
And then a year later, you came on board as my videographer.
Yep.
And we talked about last night. Is that actually a word? Videographer?
I think it's a word. I use it every day.
Okay. Because I remember back in the day, you type it in and it come up. So you were a videographer back then. You followed Matt Plapp and filmed.
Yep.
And then you became, I guess, content distribution for me. And then you became marketing. Then now you're in charge of, 20 or so people?
I would say 20 on the high end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some editors come and go.
Yep.
They got to fit the mold. They got to fit the style because we're very particular. But, yeah, I mean, it grows every day.
So my question for today's podcast and the theme is some of the stuff you've seen the last year. You have coordinated the ABR team because our company is 2 divisions, and David, you're actually one of the few that works on a lot of the divisions. Mm-hmm. But as marketing director, you oversee the marketing for the restaurant marketing services we do, which are badass, by the way. I mean,
yeah, they're pretty
granted,
good.
I created them, so you know.
Shout out RMT Dub Team.
There you go. Shout out to, we call them internally the RMTW, restaurant marketing that works, because most of the crap y'all are doing doesn't work. And the people you're paying to help you do it don't know what the heck they're doing a lot of times, or they should be cooking food and not worried about, boosting a Facebook post or doing an email. But I digress. The other side is the media company, the team that travels the country and films the stories of independent restaurants. And that's evolved because I had the idea. I was doing it a little for, I guess, 3 years, and it was intermittent, and it was me and an iPhone and a tripod.
It's actually part of the Get Featured video.
Okay, so that's up there.
I've watched probably 90% of it.
Place is badass.
Cool.
They got a double-decker bus, or at least they did. I haven't been there in 3 years. That was me and Luis, and I think Doug went there after we National Restaurant Association show. We had a booth there in May of 2019, and we went there and interviewed that guy, and they had 3 restaurants. And a Mezcal restaurant themed, that restaurant, and the other one I think was pizza. But we filmed there, and what really got my attention as we grew was seeing how there's excitement around people's stories.
Yep.
And 2 weeks ago, I spoke with Guy Fieri in person. We did a little interview down at the opening of one of our clients' restaurants, which he's associated with, called Downtown Flavortown. And he said something that really hit home, because the week before, my son was making fun of me for liking
Jack Harlow.
Yep. And he's a Louisville, Kentucky native. He's a Kentucky-born rapper. And if you know Jack's story of how he started it when he was in middle school and passing out mixtapes, and I'm sure the crap he went through, people saying he was a loser, he wasn't any good, you're stupid, like, you know what happened.
Yep.
And then here he is today. He's on Kanye West's album. He's with Drake all the time. He's with Jay-Z. He's a superstar. Yeah. But Guy said something to me. He said, Matt, music sounds different when you know the artist's journey. And that's what we've really found out this past year, because when we started doing the interviews, early on, we thought, like, I had you spending money. We were spending a lot of money. And we thought that the restaurants had to know who we were, that consumers, in order to get excited, had to know who we were.
Yep.
The minute we clicked go live on a video, or the minute we made a post that ABR is coming to this restaurant, the fans came alive. Talk about what you've seen with regards to that.
So I think telling the story and then having the video to back it up is super powerful, because for us, not a lot of restaurants have the ability to do that. So that's what really where they benefit from us, because now their viewer can see, as they're telling their story, that those items coming to life, and then they see those awesome money shots of Luis biting in the burger, or Doug holding it up next to his head. Like, that's telling the story. And for us, I think we're
the conduit.
Exactly. We're just helping that restaurant owner tell their story, which is super powerful, especially because there's no one else visiting more restaurants than we are. So for us, our storytelling,
visiting any restaurants probably.
Absolutely. But we have the ability to help the restaurant owner tell their story. And what's really impactful is when I circle back around and I go watch the episodes, and then I go to their Facebook pages, and a lot of these restaurants that we go to, it's the first time they've ever went live on their page, and it's Doug or Luis helping them do that. But where I know we made an impact is when I go back and it's 3 weeks after our visit, a live video. It's a picture of their team, their staff, or other people that are in the restaurant eating. And that's when I know that we made a difference, because before our visit, they were lucky if they made a post once a week, once a month. And now it's every other day. So that's, for me, the power of it. And then there's no other show out there that's giving those restaurants their content to use. And not only do they get their full episode, but they get all of the micro content, all of the shots, and all of the assets of those items being made. That's super, super powerful, because it's easily, we say it's a year of content.
I had a guy the other day that we're filming in late July, early August in Kentucky, I guess between the border of Kentucky and Nashville. Awesome burger. Like, this is one visit. I don't go on many of these. This is one I'm going to. Like, awesome burger and milkshake. Like, these milkshakes. I was like, dude, can you mail me one? Like, does that work? But he made a comment. He's like, Matt, we struggle with getting content. We get a lot of user generated content, which is excellent. That's the best stuff we can possibly get. Mm-hmm. He's like, but what I'm seeing here is 5 years of content. And I know when we talked, and I don't want this to become a presentation of why you should be on America's Best Restaurants. If you're an independent operator that has a solid restaurant, you should sure as hell be on it, but don't want to go that route. But I want to go around what we saw. And some of the things we saw early on was we went to the RMTW team and said, hey, what's the biggest struggle when we bring on restaurants? I think we brought on 8 restaurants last week. What's the biggest struggle you all have? And Ashley and Tom and Lisa, everybody said content.
Yep.
Deb's like, I need pictures for ads. Tom needs pictures for the bots.
Yep.
Lisa needs pictures for the emails and texts, and that we need pictures. And like, these restaurants just don't have a lot of content. And so that was what we evolved into, and it's become really cool. But the part that blew me away was how emotional customers are connected, how emotionally connected consumers are to the restaurants, and the restaurants don't know or aren't taking advantage of it. We had a restaurant that we visited, the Steel Coop.
Yep.
And we used it in a lot of examples. 99% of the consumers that saw the post had and engaged in it had no clue what America's Best Restaurants was before that post. But there's 1,500 of them that commented, shared, and liked it. Yep. It was like 300 comments, like 150 shares, and like 1,000 likes and reactions.
Because they care about us.
They don't give a about America's Best Restaurants. They care about the restaurant. Yeah, that prime rib was fire.
Oh, yeah.
But it's wild, because this is the stuff restaurants aren't doing. And we talk about blue ocean and red ocean. If you don't know what that is, blue ocean strategies are things that nobody else is doing, that you're standing alone and you look different. When I go into an event, I was at Grant Cardone's event, 1,500 people. Myself and Luis were the only ones wearing orange.
Yep.
Somebody actually zoomed in from Grant from stage on a picture on Instagram and circled it, texted to me, thinking they were joking that I spotted Matt Platt. And they went, oh, shit, that is Matt.
That is Matt Platt.
And, that's one of my little blue ocean is that I separate ourselves. But restaurants so often don't. Their Facebook pages. We saw Papa John's, the example we used. Papa John's has 6.7 million followers. One of our restaurants that we work with in Minnesota, Basilio's, has 4,600 followers. Yet they have the exact same engagement on most posts, because Papa John's is red ocean. They're using Facebook wrong. They're using Facebook as an advertising platform. And as Griff says on our team, when you advertise on Facebook, they want you to pay.
Yep.
The cool thing for me was just seeing how consumers gravitate to these stories.
Yep.
How they really take a hold of them and how they want to hear more.
Yeah, and I think too, the powerful, just the content, the short form content. We talked about this briefly in the other episode a few months ago. They struggled to master one platform, so you throw another one in there and you add all these ideas and stuff. It it's overwhelming. You just need to look at it one bite at a time.
Yep.
And if you can master one thing, you can move on to the next. You use the example all the time about the bridge. Is if you build a bunch of half bridges, you're never going to make it over the river.
Fall in the water, baby.
Yeah, but if you build one bridge, you can make it across, and then you can focus on building the second one. Then you have 2 ways across.
Yep.
So that is really cool. And I think also, like, we just recently started airing the episodes on the restaurant's page, and that's super valuable. And it doesn't benefit us. That restaurant gets the benefit. They have the episode on their channels.
Well, where
their customers
where that came from was part of our differentiator for the brand was you can be on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You can be on Food Network shows. You can be on. There's a lot of awesome shows. Like I love Deep Triple D.
Oh yeah.
But it's their show.
Yep.
And I want us to create something with the operators. Like, this is your show.
Yeah.
And the last element of that, I don't know how we didn't see this a year ago, but we've been running fast and we've done. Put in perspective, a guy had mentioned in an interview, he did somewhere around 1,300 1,300 restaurant visits in like 16 years. We'll hit over 700 in under 11 months, in under a year, like 11 months coming up next month. So we did a lot. And so, of course, we made a lot of mistakes and we made a lot of great improvements. But the biggest one to me was I remember talking to a restaurant owner and I'm saying how we do this. And I'm like, why are we airing this only on our, let's start airing this on their pages. And that's what we started doing this summer. And we're going to go backwards and work through a lot of past places we've been and help do that and kind of relaunch a lot of those. But it's so that they share the exposure. And we'll benefit down the road because we'll have 10,000 episodes in 5 years, which means America's Best Restaurants will be on 10,000 Facebook pages many times of restaurants. So it's going to benefit us. But the value is more to the restaurant at that point. And the one thing I got my keychain here that I've got my MP keychains. If you all are seeing this and don't realize it's MP, not a fist bump, but you can make it a fist bump if you want. But I got these keychains. On the back of it, I have a quote from a Kid Quill song. The hardest part about writing your own story is knowing you're worth the ink. And one of the biggest things I find with restaurant owners is they don't realize how valuable their story is. I had a guy tell me the other day, him and his brother came over on a boat from Cuba. They were like teenagers. They came here. They're homeless, no money, family. And here they are 20 years later with restaurants.
And you're one of the few people that know that.
Yeah, and like, who knows this? It's like nowhere on your websites. It's nowhere on Facebook. And there's nothing.
Yep.
And people downplay what it takes. Like I do it all the time. I downplay what it takes. We've spent $1 million the past 7 months. And I told somebody the other day, and they thought I was kind of exaggerating. I said, no, our company, there's $1 million that had it not went to the efforts of building America's Best Restaurants, investing, it would have went to Matt Platt.
Yep.
Trust me, I would have loved to have an extra $1 million in the bank the past 12 months. My wife would have loved it even more. My daughter would probably think she would deserve 5 Jeeps. But I knew that it would need to be invested in the brand because that million can become 10, 20, 30.
Yep.
But you don't realize what goes into it. That's one of the reasons I have Max and Logan and you and everybody chronicling our journey because what we're doing is special. And that's why we've built it that way to make it a no-brainer. But their website had a picture of her mom and her dad and her and her brother when they were real little, like probably 3-4 years old. And 3 sentences, no shit, 3 sentences, 1 paragraph about how the mom and the dad immigrated from Italy, came here, worked for 20 years, built up what is now this restaurant.
That's worth more than 3 sentences.
Like, that's a picture?
Yeah.
And 3 sentences? What the hell's wrong with you? Like, that's an amazing story. That needs to be a 20-minute video. That needs to be 15 micro clips of videos. It needs to be TikToks, Instagrams. It needs to be a timeline. That's the shit people love. Nobody cares. Like, we order Papa John's occasionally because my daughter likes the pizza. I'm sorry for her taste buds, but it's not bad, but it's not what I would prefer to eat is pizza all the time.
Yep.
But there's no story to Papa John's. The only story I know is how he said something stupid a couple years ago and he's not with Papa John. There's no Papa John anymore.
Yeah.
But, when I look at these restaurants we visit, there's a story. And that's the shit people need to know.
Yeah. And I think, too, we talk a lot about America's Best Restaurants and how we help these restaurant owners tell their story. But I think also, too, we can't forget the fact that everyone has a phone in their pocket. And it doesn't take America's Best Restaurants to tell that story.
Yep. To do a video on YouTube, like a live video, what's the cost?
It's completely free.
Oh, and
yeah.
What about
I think on YouTube you just need to post one other video.
Okay,
then
no,
you
it's
can
a trick
go live.
question. No, it's free.
It's free. Yeah.
TikTok.
It's free.
Instagram.
Free.
LinkedIn.
Free.
Facebook.
Free.
Facebook personal profile.
Oh, that's also free.
What about private Facebook groups?
That's free.
People, it's free. And today we were working on the membership site for our training, and it's talking about creating content, and I had on there my story. And I was going to reshoot my video of how I got into the marketing business. I'm like, no, let's put the video I made in 2018. It's an iPhone.
Yep.
I did it live on Facebook. It's on a tripod. It was one take. There was no editing. I'm sure there were mistakes. I'm sure I said shit I didn't want to say. But it was my story.
Yep.
And so we put it on the page. If you go to mattplapp.com and you hit who I am.
Yep. Who is Matt?
Who is Matt? It's on there. That wasn't hard. Now, granted, if that video is me and Sean Walchef, who's an influencer and a restaurant owner, like he did with Entrepreneur Magazine, which he did that video, another version of it, it's much more powerful.
Absolutely.
100 times, 1,000 times more powerful. It's how it got on the cover of Entrepreneur Magazine's website.
Yep.
But the organic version is still emotional, and people get behind it. And people want to be a part of something that's not cookie cutter, that's cool, that's exciting, that's got a story behind it.
And the thing about that is your story hasn't changed.
No.
Like that story, that's your story.
I haven't gotten taller either.
Yeah. Well,
Been trying.
You were sitting down in the video. So
yeah, I
you
was
can't
sitting.
really
Maybe I'm taller.
Yeah.
Kramer in the video is still in my office.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
I'm excited for what we got going, and I just get so excited about it.
It's like last night we had dinner at Walt's Hitching Post and had Greg down there, who hopefully by the time this airs will be a part of the team, but he's TV for 20 years, a key WWE host the last, and like he's going to come on board as one of our hosts and help in production and help with other things. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like we haven't even started.
Yeah. And
it's going to be insane, but glad to have you in.
Thanks for having me on.
Glad you flew down from Philly.
Of course.
Spend some time with the team. We got Peter, who started this week, and we've got you brushing up some stuff with Doris and with Max, and then the rest of the ABR team to take stuff to the new level.
Yeah. Oh, it's impactful every time. I mean, I was telling you last night, there was one thing that we've been doing for a year straight since the beginning of America's Best Restaurants. And Monday morning, I was sitting here in a meeting, and I was like, why are we doing it this way? We got
and so you got a software for $75,
something like that, yeah.
And it'll save you hours.
And it's going to make everyone's life easier. It'll make the restaurant watching their episode for the first time, and if they have any feedback or things that they want, making those changes, it's a dream. So
and
it's cool.
By the way, one of my other podcasts, because there's 4 podcasts I have now. I have this, I have Restaurant Expert Roundup, I have Own Their Phones with Sean Walchef, but I also have Restaurant Marketing Secrets, which is audio only. And one of the episodes I just published today they're all about 10, 15 minutes, just me, just audio. One tip was about outsourcing and about spending money on things that can save you time. And like you're not cheap as an employee. You're going to keep getting more expensive because you keep getting better and better and better, and you deserve it. But if I can save an hour of your time for, a couple hours time for $75 software once a month, I'll take that all day long.
And it's not only my time; it's a lot of the team's time too. So that's cool.
Well, great. Now, big thing I should have did early in this episode because we got to start doing more often. Wherever you're watching this or listening to it, subscribe to the channel, like the post, share it, comment, tell your friends, because I know what we're dropping on here is great information that small business owners need, entrepreneurs need, salespeople, mainly big-time restaurants. And so we'd love for more people to find out. Make sure you hit that. That's all we got for this episode of MPTV. See you later, David.
See ya.